Legislative hearing on the appointment of a special prosecutor for the investigation of Marine Corps death incident cover-up. The National Assembly recently held a legislative hearing regarding the bill titled Appointment of a Special Prosecutor for the Investigation of Obstruction and Cover-up in the Marine Corps Death Incident, also known as the Chae Sang-byeong Special Prosecutor Bill. This bill aims to appoint a special prosecutor to thoroughly investigate the alleged obstruction of justice and cover-up surrounding the death of Marine Corps member Chae Sang-byeong, which occurred in Yecheon, Gyeongsangbuk-do. According to the bill, the special prosecutor will have an independent status and will investigate not only the death of Chae Sang-byeong, but also the alleged dereliction of duty and abuse of power by related institutions, including the Presidential Office, the Ministry of National Defense, the Marine Corps Command, and the Gyeongbuk Provincial Police Agency. President Yoon Suk-yeol has indicated a high likelihood of exercising his veto power over the bill. He cited ongoing investigations by the police and the Corruption Investigation Office for high-ranking officials, and pointed out that no special prosecutor bill passed without bipartisan agreement has been accepted before. During the legislative hearing, opposition parties strongly advocated for the necessity of the bill, stating their intention to reintroduce it in the 22nd National Assembly if it is rejected in the current session. Specific provisions, such as ensuring public access to investigation briefings and detailing the appointment process and investigation period of the special prosecutor, were also discussed. This legislative hearing is seen as a critical step toward uncovering the truth behind the Chae Sang-byeong case and enhancing transparency and accountability in handling military-related incidents. The final outcome of the bill remains to be seen, drawing significant public and political interest. Full transcript of Colonel Park Young-hoon's testimony at the legislative hearing. Esteemed citizens, I am Colonel Park Young-hoon, former head of the Marine Corps investigation team. Today, I stand before you with a heavy heart. I vowed and promised in front of the late Chae Sang-byeong's body that I would ensure that there would be no injustice in his death, and that those responsible would be held accountable. Time has passed relentlessly, and next month will mark 1 year since his passing. Yet, the truth of the incident has not been revealed, and the punishment of those responsible seems far off. Recently, after reading a letter from the mother of Private First Class Chae Sang-byeong, I could not stop my tears, and felt deeply sorry. Her questions: who made my son enter the water without a life jacket, and who made him wear boots in such strong currents, are the same ones she asked last year on July the 28th when I explained the investigation results to the bereaved family in Namwon. Nearly a year has passed, yet she still asks the same questions, and I am profoundly sorry that I cannot provide answers. Esteemed citizens, on July the 19th last year, a Marine soldier died in the line of duty. We all know him as Private First Class Chae Sang-byeong. Immediately after the incident, I, along with investigators from the Marine Corps investigation team, worked tirelessly day and night and reported the results to the Marine Corps commander. Normally, the investigation team would report the results to the Navy investigation team and the Ministry of National Defense Investigation Headquarters, and transfer all related records to the Gyeongbuk Provincial Police Agency. However, the Marine Corps commander decided that a change of the 1st Division commander was necessary, and instructed me to report the investigation results directly to the Chief of Staff and the Minister. Before that, on July the 30th, around 16:30, during the report to the Minister, I first presented the investigation results, and after everyone present left the room, the commander had a 15-minute private meeting with the Minister regarding the subsequent personnel changes. The report was completed smoothly, and we were ready to proceed with the media briefing and transfer of case documents. However, by 12 o'clock on July the 31st, less than a day after the report to the Minister, the media briefing was cancelled, and everything became chaotic. Subsequently, I received a call from the Ministry of National Defense Legal Affairs officer, who I had not known before, telling me to send the case transfer document, remove the charges, suspects, and details of the allegations, and do not use the term investigation, among other incomprehensible instructions. The commander was also confused. Later that day, around 17 o'clock, the commander called me to his office. When I asked why the Ministry of National Defense was acting this way, he told me that during a briefing at 11 o'clock that morning, the president had become furious, asking, "How can we punish the division commander for this incident? Who will want to be a division commander in this country?" The president had never been this angry about a military matter before. I told the commander, "It seems the president received incorrect information. The question should be, why we are punishing the division commander. I will organize the foreseeable problems if we follow the ministry's instructions, and report them. I then discussed this issue with the chief of the Central Investigation Team, the head of the 1st Regional Investigation Team, and the investigation supervisor, recalling previous cases where the Minister of National Defense and the head of the investigation headquarters were imprisoned for external interference in investigations. We summarized the reasons why we could not alter the investigation documents. This document, titled Expected Problems if the Persons Involved in the Drowning Incident of Private First Class Chae Sang-byeong are Changed, has already been made public by the media. I reported this document to the commander, suggesting that the Ministry of National Defense Investigation Headquarters re-evaluate it. The commander agreed, and we thought the issue was resolved. However, the legal affairs officer continued to contact me 5 times over 2 days, insisting on removing the suspects in the details of the allegations, and limiting the suspects to those with direct negligence. Although the legal affairs officer now claims that he was merely offering an opinion, there was no reason to call me 5 times over 2 days if it was just an opinion. The legal affairs officer even asked me if I felt pressured by his remarks. The ministry's pressure was also directed at the commander. According to media reports, the vice minister, military secretary, and legal affairs officer called and texted the commander, asking to consider criminal punishment for definite suspects, and administrative punishment for command responsibility, and to treat the minister's approval on July the 30th as an interim approval to be reported upon his return. I repeatedly advised the commander that altering the investigation documents was extremely dangerous and could lead to charges of abuse of authority and that the case should be transferred to the police as planned. In retrospect, it seems the commander was torn between changing the documents, risking abuse of authority, and refusing the ministry's orders, risking insubordination. In the military court, the commander testified that he ordered me 3 times over 2 days from July the 31st to hold off on the transfer, which I refuse. It is unprecedented for a superior in the military to issue the same order 3 times. Even if we assume the commander ordered the hold off, and I did not comply, the commander should have relieved me of my duties, or taken appropriate disciplinary actions. This frustrating situation continued, and on August the 2nd, round 10 o'clock, I went to the commander's office and reported that I would take responsibility for the transfer, which proceeded at 10:30 the same day to the Gyeongbuk Provincial Police Agency. Subsequently, as reported in the media, I was dismissed from my position, faced with charges of collective insubordination, and am currently on trial in a military court. Esteemed citizens, I am currently isolated in an independent office, about 4 kilometers from the headquarters, commuting without any duties for 11 months. I have been excluded from all tasks, and am barred from freely interacting with my subordinates. For an individual to withstand this pressure against state power, especially the highest authority, is almost a miracle. Despite enduring this ordeal, the support and encouragement from the citizens are my only strength. I sincerely thank you all. I also deeply apologize to my fellow Marines, who are dedicating themselves to the country from remote areas like Gyeongsangbuk-do, Gimpo, Pohang, and Jeju Island. It pains me greatly to see the honor of the Marine Corps, which I love and have spent my youth in, tarnished and ridiculed by the public. I humbly ask the citizens to support the righteous Marine Corps commanders, who prioritize their subordinates and lead by example. Please encourage and support the Marine Corps to regain its rightful place. Finally, I would like to say one more thing. This incident is not just about the death of one soldier. As Chae Sang-byeong's grandfather told me during the investigation results briefing, in my 80 years of life, I've seen powerful people get away, and only the powerless get punished. This seemed almost prophetic. South Korea is a nation of the rule of law, where all citizens are equal before the law, regardless of wealth or power. I believe that equality before the law is true justice. I promised the grandfather that although I do not have the final say in the investigation, I would ensure that the case is handled as explained before it leaves my hands. I can never forget the look in his eyes as he spoke of his only grandson, who was taken from him. Esteemed citizens, South Korea is a country where military service is mandatory. All citizens are directly or indirectly connected to the military. This incident must be handled correctly, and those responsible must be held accountable to prevent another unjust death like Chae Sang-byeong's. Please help prove that truth and justice are alive in our society. Thank you for listening to my words. Everything was thrown into chaos by one person's fury, Colonel Park's direct criticism of President Yoon. Rep Park Yoon-young. Let's look at what happened on July the 31st. It started with President Yoon, who, during a National Security Office meeting at 11 a.m., became furious and called former Defense Minister Lee Jong-seop. The intense situation that day saw a series of calls and VIP orders being delivered to Lee Jong-seop, Park Jin-hee, and Kim Jae-hwan. Now, Let's consider the events of August the 2nd. When the investigation results were handed over to the police, President Yoon, who was on vacation, called Defense Minister Lee Jong-seop 3 times on his personal phone. Despite being on vacation, President Yoon couldn't rest easy and called National Defense Secretary Lim Ki-hoon and Vice Defense Minister Shin Byung-chil. After receiving these calls, urgent communications ensued between the Presidential Office, the Ministry of National Defense, and the Marine Corps. Ultimately, at 7:20 p.m., the Military Prosecutor's Office retrieved the investigation results from the Gyeongbuk Provincial Police Agency. These events on August the 2nd clearly show how this case unfolded and how closely and urgently the Presidential Office was involved, revealing the exertion of pressure on the investigation. Witness Park Young-hoon, you were involved in many things on July the 31st and August the 2nd of last year. These developments happened after your investigation and reporting. What are your thoughts on these events now? Colonel Park Young-hoon, it was devastating. On July the 30th, I reported to the then Minister of National Defense in the afternoon. We planned to hold a media briefing on July the 31st and hand over the case to the Gyeongbuk Provincial Police Agency on August the 2nd. This timeline and all related details were accurately reported to Minister Lee Jong-seop, who is currently in office. As I previously stated, South Korea is a nation of the rule of law. Everything should proceed according to the procedures, laws, and regulations. However, all of this was thrown into chaos by one person's fury, leading to utter confusion and making many individuals criminals in the process. It is heartbreaking and incomprehensible that such a series of calls and conspiracies occurred. And I cannot believe that such things can happen in broad daylight in South Korea. That's all.